They called it Sparta, a name that still echoes like thunder across history. A city where weakness was a sin and strength was a religion. But what most people don't know is that behind the glory of its warriors, behind the stories of courage and conquest, was something far more disturbing. Sparta didn't just train warriors, it bred them. A civilization built on bloodlines, control, and pain, where even birth itself was a test. Because to be born in Sparta didn't mean you had the right to live. Every Spartan child was born under the eyes of the state. When a baby came into this world, it wasn't the parents who decided its fate. It was the council of elders. They would lift the child into the air, inspect its body, its bones, its form. If the baby looked strong, it lived. If it didn't, it was carried to the foot of Mount Tagetus and left there to die. To them, mercy was weakness, and weakness was a disease that could infect an entire civilization. It sounds monstrous to us, but to Spartans, it was logical. They believed that a perfect society could only be built by removing imperfection from birth. That was the beginning of their breeding system, a world where survival wasn't a right, it was a privilege. At the age of 7, boys were taken from their mothers and thrown into the Agoge, Sparta's state-run training system. It wasn't a school, it was a factory, a place designed to strip away humanity and forge obedience, endurance, and brutality. They were taught to steal food, not because stealing was wrong, but because getting caught was. They were beaten until they learned not to cry. They were left to sleep without blankets, barefoot in the cold, so their bodies would harden and their fear would fade. Every night they whispered one lesson: if you can't endure pain, you don't deserve victory. And slowly, boy by boy, Sparta created an army that felt no fear, no compassion, and no hesitation to kill. But the Agoge was only half the story. Because the Spartan state didn't just control how children were trained, it controlled how they were born. Marriage wasn't always about love. In many cases, it was about selection. The strongest men were paired with the strongest women, chosen by officials to produce the next generation of warriors. If a man was old but still powerful, he could be ordered to let a younger, stronger soldier impregnate his wife for the sake of the state. In return, he was honored. Because in Sparta, bloodlines didn't belong to families. They belonged to the city. Imagine living in a world where your body, your love, even your children belonged not to you, but to the government. That was Sparta, a living experiment in genetic control, centuries before science even had a name for it. Spartan women were unlike any in the ancient world. They were educated, outspoken, and physically trained, because the state believed that strong women birthed strong soldiers. They lifted weights, they ran races. They even competed in public, half-dressed, not for vanity, but to display health and strength. While Greek women elsewhere were hidden behind walls, Spartan women walked freely through the streets. They could own property, they could command respect, but that freedom came with a cost. They weren't seen as individuals, but as instruments of the state. When a Spartan mother handed her son his shield, she didn't say, "Come back safe." She said, "Come back with it, or on it." Because in Sparta, there was no greater honor. Sparta's obsession with breeding and training wasn't just about war, it was about control. They believed a perfect society could exist only if every citizen served one purpose: to fight, to die, and to be remembered. Even their philosophers twisted morality to fit this belief. They claimed that pain purifies, that love was weakness, and that compassion had no place in battle. It was a world where emotion was an enemy, and obedience was God. And so, generation after generation, the cycle continued, each child harder, colder, more ruthless than the last, until Sparta became less of a city and more of a weapon. But no civilization built on fear can last forever. As time passed, the Spartan system began to crumble from within. Their obsession with purity meant fewer and fewer citizens were considered worthy to fight. Their population shrank. Their walls, once unbreakable, began to crack. And when the world changed, Sparta couldn't. The same system that had made them unstoppable also made them fragile. By the time the Romans arrived, Sparta was only a shadow of its former self, a ghost of a city that once ruled by strength alone. Their warriors had become myths, their laws, madness, their ideals, poison. Today, we still use the word Spartan to describe simplicity, discipline, or strength. But the truth behind that word is far darker than most people realize. It's the story of a civilization that tried to breed perfection and ended up breeding its own destruction. Because when you erase emotion, you erase what makes us human. And the greatest irony? Sparta, the city that feared weakness most of all, was destroyed not by its enemies, but by its own ideals. Strength without compassion isn't strength at all. It's just another form of weakness. Wearing armor. This was Sparta, the empire that worshipped strength, and in doing so, forgot what it meant to live.